What's going on, everybody? All right, as we do here in the studio, audio issues. There might be a little bit of static in the background. Unable to get that fixed for the stream tonight, but I've got painting to do. So we're gonna go ahead and get the painting going. Bear with us, hopefully we can get it resolved. Definitely let me know how it sounds on your end, but I do anticipate that it's not gonna be perfect. So, of course, thank you guys for coming back out. Hobby Pants on a brand new channel, so it doesn't have to be gated behind a membership wall. That is fantastic. I'm really excited to have these projects back going. And what better way to kick it off than with a raffle for the battle to end Alzheimer's. One of the best events around, especially considering the charitable nature of it and all the funds and proceeds that it has raised for Alzheimer's research. As such, I've got my XXL jersey on tonight. Shout out to my guy, JC Watts. So thank you so much for letting us be a part of the raffle this year. And hopefully it's as successful as it has been in the past. So I do see we've got a couple of people in chat already. Great to see you guys here. I also have Luke here with me. He's going to be producing tonight and hanging out. What's up, Luke?
Hey, how's it going?
Well, let's go ahead and get this kicked off. So Luke is going to keep me informed as to what chat has got going on while we get this thing cooking up. I think I've decided I could paint this up the normal way, you know, the box art way, right? We could do that. That sounds boring. We're going to make a frost giant tonight, I think is going to be the move. Something nice and creative, something rather unique as well. Maybe it'll draw a little bit more attention on the raffle table. So let's get at it. What's going on in chat tonight, Luke?
Just the love for missing some of these painting videos.
Yo, you and me both. Who all do we have here with us?
We got Michael Stevenson.
Michael Stevenson. I think I met Mike earlier today. Came into the shop, picked up something for his Dark Angels army.
Yep, that's what he's saying in chat there.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Great to see you out here. Definitely.
We got Matt Aaron.
The man, Matt Aaron, one of the most decorated painters here in the United States. Dude, thank you for tuning in.
Looks like Shoelace.
All right. Well, we got a couple people in here. Hopefully us getting started late didn't push any people off. I definitely am sorry we got started late. I would have liked to have gotten started early, but you know, we just gotta roll with the punches here and there, and that's what we're doing here tonight.
We also got Miss Natalie Hill.
Oh yeah, another highly awarded painter. Great to see you, Natalie.
And looks like Proto-J just jumped in here.
And Proto-J, what's on the menu? Well, yeah, we are doing this Gargant from Age of Sigmar. Really hard to see now because she's got the black primer on it, but it's going to come to life here in just a moment when we get this Zenithal cooking. But yeah, as I mentioned, this is a raffle for the Battle to End Alzheimer's. This is a charity that's been running several years by JC Watts out of the Maryland area. Actually was just awarded with Warhammer Hero acknowledgement. So he's got that hanging on his wall. Super proud of him. But this charity has been absolutely incredible. Tens of thousands of dollars have been raised from nerds like you and I for such an important charity. So again, when we were given an opportunity to paint something up and submit that, dude, we jumped all over it. You know, as you guys know, that's what Hobby Goblins are all about: community support and you know, just demonstrating sportsmanship both on and off the table. So hopefully this helps tally up those donations even more so this year. But of course, wanted to just say a big thank you to JC for all your work that you've done to accomplish what you have accomplished. Big shout out to our sponsors. We're running very simple tonight, right? So we're just going to go over those. No need for any assets or logos. Too Thin Coats in the house. That's Transatlantis Games. We're going to be using their paints. We've got Artist Opus backing us as well. So you're going to see those brushes on at play. And of course, Spray Gunner provided us with this unofficial Hobby Goblins airbrush. That's right, unofficial because, well, we had to get a couple of airbrushes and put them together to get the colors right. But thank you, Spray Gunner, for that support. And then finally, Game Envy gives us, you'll see the wet palette that we're going to use, and those things are all going along with that. So let's kick this off. I am curious what everybody's thoughts are on going the Frost Giant route. Is it a poor decision? Is it a cool decision? I don't know that you'll be able to talk me out of it either way because I'm just feeling froggy, but I'm definitely curious to know what you guys think about it. First thing we're going to do, as I mentioned, black primer, Rattlecan, Zenithal, nice and easy, nice and straightforward. The primer is really just there to provide us a surface that paint will adhere to. And we're going to overwrite just about all of this information with the paint as it goes. Our Zenithal, of course, that means top down, if you will, if you're not familiar. Our Zenithal is going to help us pick out some of these and maybe help us reinforce some shadows. But all of the layering and filters that we're going to put on it, most of this is going to disappear behind whatever direction we give it. So let's get this kicked off. How does the audio sound? Is it terrible in terms of the static, or is it workable for you guys tonight? I want to thin down this primer just a little bit more. Get it to flow nice and easy. We did recently do a full clean on the airbrush, and as some of you guys probably know, sometimes when you do a full clean on airbrush, there are still things you have to tweak and tinker with. So that might be the case getting started. But man, when was the last time we did one of these streams? It's been several months.
It looks like chat's saying sound looks pretty good right now.
Okay, good, good, good. Because it did not when we first turned it on. I will tell you that. This is not spraying wonderfully. Let's see, with a couple of tweaks, if we can make it so. Just reseat the needle. Let's have a look at our air pressure as well. All right, air pressure right now, kicking it right around mid-20s, which is typically pretty good for a primer. We're getting a lot of speckling. Well, when in doubt, we also have another airbrush here to give a try to. How's this one feel? That one feels like it's moving pretty good. Gonna be a little bit of noise when I take the air off of the brush here. We're not ready for that, are we? Nope, we are not. We're gonna make this work. A lot of what we're doing is gonna be brush painting tonight anyway. I'm gonna just crank up the PSI a little bit, see if maybe there might be something in there that we can kind of blast out that feels like it's working a little bit better. So let's start getting some details kind of defined on here. This is a crude step anyway, doesn't need to be anything too delicate. I think you guys can probably see that speckling on the camera as well. But you should also be able to start to see some of the volumetrics of the piece as it shapes up. And some of the speckling might also just be the primer itself. One thing I didn't do that I normally do, I like to typically put a little bit of thinner in the cup and run it through the brush before I put any paint in it. I didn't do that tonight, so the needle was not really lubricated very well. If that is the case, then the performance of it's going to improve as we go. So we're just going to kind of hang in there and find out. But yeah, definitely, guys, thank you for tuning in 100% to the brand new Goblins and Friends right here on YouTube. Again, we were really, I can't speak for everybody, but I, myself, was quite sad when we had to stop doing our painting on the Hobby Goblin channel. But we didn't want to let that stop us, you know. Most of you guys that do know us outside of YouTube, you know us for our love of the art, you know. And as much as I really do enjoy the Cave Reps Battle Reports channel, it's just not my direct passion, right? It's related to, but this is what I'm here for. I'm here for flexing these creative muscles and trying new things. So we're going to do that here with you tonight.
Now we can see the model forming on the screen.
Yeah, you can see the shape of it a lot better. Very simple step that really just helps you pick out all the little details that are here. So I did get a reference image from the D&D monster manual for a frost giant. Didn't get it uploaded in the system here, but I do have it. I'm not just going to come off of my head with it. This is researched off of that reference image. So what I'll do is I'll drop that reference image in the Discord once we're done here tonight, just so you guys can see how close we landed to it. Do keep in mind we're not doing a carbon copy. We're just using it as inspiration, but you know me and my proclivity for purple. There wasn't much purple in the image that I'm going off of. So I can tell you off of the rip, it's not going to be an exact match.
So we do have a question here.
Yeah, what do we got?
So, Michael Stevenson, has anyone had a Citadel Rattlecan produce a grainy priming finish? I used a new can and shook it for like 20 minutes and it sprayed at about 15 degrees. I think the only time I've ever had that was a very humid day and I was spraying it outside.
Humidity can have a big impact on it. Was it an off-white? Off-white does have a tendency to get a little bit wonky at times. And that is one of the downsides of a Rattlecan. That's why I only use Rattlecans for something like this black right here, something just that gives me that strong coverage. And then we turn to either a brush or an airbrush to use these primers that are a bit more defined specifically for miniature painting. All right, and the primer that I'm using here this evening, this is Vallejo primer, right? I use a lot of Vallejo primers. It does, in my opinion, seem to be the most consistent. I'm not a big fan of a satin finish. A lot of people like the Steinelres, another primer. That does have a satin finish, so I try to avoid those. I want a matte finish. I want the colors on the surface of the model to do what I tell them to do. And I don't really want the reflection of light off of the model to kind of interfere with that, unless I want something to look, you know, like a different texture, right? You're working with something like a hard gloss, that'll make your mouth look wet and like sloppy, right? But only if it's got something dry and smooth in juxtaposition. I've got that little background music going, just something to kind of fill the space for when I'm not running my mouth. If that is too loud or too quiet, let us know. We can tweak that from here. Yeah, we're spraying a little better now, which is good. And what we're going to do is we're just going to get this on here. I'm going to come back with a blue, and we're going to blast all the shadows into a blue, do some pre-shading, right? That's going to kind of set the stage for that cool skin tone. So as such, we are going a little bit deeper on the white than we might with a traditional Zenithal. And then the thoughts are, you see I've just got it mounted to the base here tonight for ease of painting, but this will be coming off of the base once I'm done painting the model. And we're gonna build a cool base for it too, using a lot of the same environmental idea, you know, some sort of rocky, craggy, snowy sort of something that'll really tie it in hopefully pretty nicely. Appreciate Luke coming in tonight. You guys are seeing more and more of Luke on the Cave Reps channel as well. He's really stepped it up and taken on a lot of the producer responsibilities as of late. Matter of fact, he was a lifesaver, him and the other guys. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I am getting over COVID, no longer communicable, right? But do still have some of the lasting effects of this last romp with the Rona bug. Luckily, not nearly as bad as my wife. That poor girl is still on the struggle bus at the house a bit, but she is on the road to recovery. So shout out to my lady, of course, hoping she's feeling better.
And welcome in there, Space Wolf Dan.
What's up, Space Wolf Dan?
And definitely agree, it's always cool to see how fast a model can look with just a simple Zenithal.
Yep, you can really start to see all the shapes of it now. Right, just because I don't want this to be pure black, we're going to just mist it underneath here, get more of a gray into it. And in terms of color theory, skin is going to be blue. It's going to have a little bit of purple into the recess, although it is a frigid model. It does still have blood flowing through its veins, keeping it alive, and that blood is going to have a little bit of warmth to it. So there will be plenty of opportunities to get some purple into the mix, and then we're going to turn to a lot of warmer colors for a lot of the stuff that you're seeing with the draperies and the little accentuations, like little detailed bits on the model to give us that good color theory, that good warm and cool contrasting.
We've got John McCardle joining us. He's popping in for a few seconds while at work. Just unfortunately, awesome. No volume.
No volume?
He's working.
I see. I finally got John on a stream where he couldn't dump a bunch of money on our heads. So John is a huge supporter of the Cave Reps channel. And I've told him, hey, pop by, say hello. You don't have to spend your dollars, but if we see his name, typically, you know, he is showering us with love. So thank you for tuning in to this one just for the sake of tuning in for it, even if it's just for a few moments. John's a great supporter of the community, both at live events and for us streaming types. So thank you so much for that. And look out for him in April. I'm going to put it out there now. We have discussed him coming to the cave, getting on some of these bat reps with us in April. And now that I've told you guys, he can't let you down. So John, looking for you in April. That's a good start there. Let's go ahead and knock this white out of this brush here. So what is everybody working on themselves at home? That's what I'm curious about. Yeah, I think a lot of that was really the paint just behaving poorly.
No, the early speckling.
Yeah. Because it seems to have nice flow to it. That doesn't seem to be an issue at all. Luke, I need you to remind me to bring a quick release in here with this airbrush as well. I'm doing it like a caveman right now. Just got it hardwired. So let's talk about some colors. Now we know that the blues aren't going to be super saturated, right? Icy Cool isn't really super saturated. But it is going to start off a bit vibrant, right? This Asurmen right here we're going to do our pre-shading with. And tonight's goal is to knock out the flesh. All the other accoutrements, maybe not. Maybe we won't get to it. You know, that might be a video later in the week. We may very well be able to get back out here Tuesday for another stream as well. Of course, our battle reports kicking off once again tomorrow night. That might be Dan playing this week, might be John playing this week. It was supposed to be me, but I said, oh, hell no. I'm so out of practice and out of touch with the game at the moment that these guys have been absolutely crushing it with, you know, playing the armies, having enjoyable games, and, you know, I want you guys to have the best experience that you can have when watching K-Preps. So, you know, I said, please, somebody save me. All right, so now we're just going to come in here and kind of follow the opposite trend. The areas where I've got most of the black, let's move that black into blue and help accentuate some of the undersides a bit. So up underneath this belly here. And I'm doing it in this order as well, because it doesn't really matter what happens with the loincloth or the leather bits or any of the other stuff. You know, I can paint it blue as if it was flesh and then add the proper colors to it in the next stage. This is where the Zenithal can kind of be a guide as well.
Yeah, it looks like Natalie's working on her paint scheme for her nodes, trying to figure out some options there.
That's exciting. I absolutely adore Natalie's Chaos Knights. But at the same time, I also hate Chaos Knights. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited to see what direction she goes with those NIDs. Now, Natalie, I know you reached out to me the other day about some ideas you had with color, and I was unable to attend you. I had the wife in the hospital and all of that. But let's definitely get together, maybe closer to the end of the week here, and let's talk about it. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. You know, one of my favorite parts, of course, about the art side of the hobby is sharing that with everybody else. You know, being able to take a look and give my own personal feedback, also get feedback on my personal work from those artists that I do also respect and admire. You know, and just as much as you know, there is never a lack of things to learn. So embrace every opportunity that you can to learn. And there's nothing that says a person has to be a master painter to maybe have a little something to teach you. So that being said, most of the people that we've talked about so far, if they're not master painters, they are damn close.
I know, I just from the years of just sitting here watching you do this, it's where I get most of mine just is absorbing it, just watching.
Yeah, Luke goes all the way back to the beginning with us, right? The early days before Hobby Goblins were hobby goblining, and the cave was in my living room, and we were just, you know, kind of going on that journey together, all of us kind of experimenting and learning piece by piece. You know, and if you guys didn't tune in to Monday's stream, we got to show off some of his work on Monday night, some of his tier nids that have come a long way since we got started, huh, Luke?
Oh yeah. Every new model makes me go, I need to redo everything else prior to this.
That's right. I feel that pain too, but there's just not any way that I could bring myself just to start over on, you know, 12,000 points of orcs. That's just too much. So we take opportunities where we can to add on little bits of things that we've learned through the process. You know, but hard reset, you know, it's just nobody's got that kind of time.
No.
Now, for some of this fickle stuff, what we have to do is get nice and close to the model to just hit the tiny spaces. And it's probably going to get a little bluer than you might expect it to get, but most of that's going to get worked back down as we go. And then things like fingers and toes are likely going to end up with a bit more blue than your big, meaty, muscular areas. Right? Blood flows a little closer to the surface. You know, less insulation means it's going to be cooler or colder quicker. It's why you put those thick socks on in the wintertime. Or the heavy-duty flip-flops if it's a Florida winter. I mentioned it in the comments, talking with Mr. Matt Aaron. Matt Aaron is a multi-time winner, top of the hobby track. Very, very talented painter. One of the things that I would like to see from this new channel is not only being able to spend time doing some of these live stream projects with you guys here online, but also I'd like for you guys to get to know some of the people that I've gotten to know over the past years in the hobby chase. You know, so people that are out here winning events for paint and demonstrating, you know, work at a very high level. I'd like to see a podcast where I can start interviewing some of those. You know, the Dean Pritchards, Natalie Hills, the Kevin Grubbs, the Matt Aarons, like the whole nine. There's a ton of really talented people out there that I think that everybody could benefit from getting to know just a little bit better. Use that as an opportunity to kind of get an idea on some of the techniques that they prefer, some of their inspirations, you know, so on and so forth. So if there is a person in the community that you feel like maybe hasn't been mentioned and should be in consideration, I'd love for you to let me know in the comments down below. Let's see if we can't get a conversation going with him.
Oh, speaking of Dean, it's like you just summoned him. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I don't know if it was me that summoned him or if it was somebody saying the word Tyranids and paint together. Some of you guys have been traveling, have probably seen Dean's coconut crabs. Oh, look, it's old Blue Nose, isn't it? Yeah, That harkens back to the intro. Okay, getting closer. Getting closer to where we need to be. Let's go ahead and treat the front of this brush. Get it flowing a little smoother again. It was nice to get in here, clean up the studio for the stream today too, get new paper down. I'm gonna wreck the paper tonight, because that's how we do. Last time I did it though, I had a blowout during the white prime stage, and paint shot everywhere. All along the back wall here, there's all kinds of like white speckles from when that happened.
I'm surprised it didn't get in the camera looking at it.
Yeah, I had to check the camera. It was that aggressive that I was like, oh my god, no. I am sure. But yeah, luckily it didn't. It all went forward instead of up. Okay, just trying to get underneath, using this blue to identify, you know, the muscle groups a little bit more and give a little bit more shape to them. Kind of a slow process here compared to something like that white Zenithal. But, you know, we're just trying to be particular. Work this hand a little bit more underneath these fingers. Fun fact, I set out to build a kit. This Gargant kit has 5 variants of giant stompy boys that you can build from it. And I set out to build the one that I felt like was going to be, well, let's just be frank, the easiest to get done over the course of a paint stream or two. A little less details on it, a little extra less, just extra stuff. Got about halfway through building and realized, nope, I didn't build that one at all. I built one that had a bunch of the extra stuff on it. So things like our little handful of dudes right here. That seems like that needs context. But
I mean, the arm out of his mouth is a great touch,
yeah, it's a great model. It definitely is. Look, 40K guys, Sigmar's crushing us in the model sculpts. I don't have any problem telling you. There's so many cool things that they're doing with Sigmar that just outperform, a lot of the GW sculpts for 40K. But I tell you this, I am not going to learn another big scale tabletop war game. No. As much as I appreciate these models, Sigmar will be a mystery forever to me. So again, we're going to really push the fingers and the toes, make sure we've got good blues in there. And now what's going to happen from here, just to kind of spitball with you guys about order of operations. Once we've gotten this about where we want it, and we've got the next stage going with our layers over top of the lighter blues, this is going to be a color that we're going to come back to. We're going to use it as a filter to go back over all of the work that we do to really force the shadows in and kind of reunify the top to bottom of it. So it's a technique that I like to use. I've had some success with it, but this is an experiment. So we're going to find out together just how successful it is or is not. All right, let's get the band right here on this back leg so you can see where those wrappings go around it. We know that that's going to need to get that blue down in there. Blue is representing our shadow at the moment. And let's just give it a look.
So the head on that weapon, is that going to be a giant chunk of ice or stone?
It really depends on how much purple I can work into this. There is a very real possibility that if the model itself doesn't take much purple, then I might try and make the head of that mallet some sort of rare purple, crystalline gem.
That'd be cool.
I think that would be a really cool way to look at it. It does have more of your natural grooves, like stone, versus something that looks like cut or with sharp shears like a gem might typically have. But, most of the stories told by the pigments we choose and the application of those pigments, so we can take something that might not be sculpted to be something and kind of imply that it is the thing anyhow. So,
just an uncut gem, man, that's all.
Yeah.
No polish yet.
Yeah, I didn't even know gems had religions, Luke. Aha! See if we can't quiet that down. Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, these air compressors, they're fairly quiet compared to a lot of air compressors on the market, but they sure do like to walk around the room.
Even my tankless one, because I guess it runs a lot more, it moves all over the place.
All right, I don't know about you guys, but this is getting me excited to see what this could become.
Yeah, Dean's agreeing with a purple and white hammer, so that would look sweet.
Yeah, well, those are also the colors of the event, right? The breast cancer awareness event. you know, this will be the first year that we haven't done up a prop for it. We've sent chainswords, the past couple of them, and we've done purple and white as the color schemes with, of course, the name of the event across them. Unfortunately, those don't have as much of a draw for people's donations as something like this does.
Lift your mic up a little bit. They said that you're kind of hard to hear.
A little hard to hear?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we can fix that.
Kind of looks like Kratos' kin.
All right. See if that's any better for us. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this paint that's in this airbrush cup right here right back into the bottle of contrast. It does have the inclusion of some airbrush thinner in it, all right, which does also mean that, you know, you're not going to, it's not going to have the same, it's not going to have the same body that a contrast would do. It might not contract as easily as it was designed to do. But, you know, when you're using contrast as a filter, you're not looking for the behavior of a contrast medium. You're looking for the transparent pigments. That's what we're going for here.
Yeah, Dean says that's better.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. You guys just keep me informed. Give me the feedbacks.
He's like, I'm just scared to turn up the TV because, you know, when it goes to ads.
Yeah, definitely. And I wish there was a way that, since we're not monetized, we could just keep ads from rolling at all. But that's not the world we live in. You have to pay YouTube to stop the ads. There's nothing I can do to help you.
Well, that's them making their money.
Mm-hmm. So, what I noticed in the reference model was that a lot of, or no, reference art, is that as the layers build and get lighter and lighter, the desaturation level jumps immensely. So it's very grayish, bluish colors that the model supports, rather than colors that have a certain amount of vibrancy. So we're going to follow through with that. And I think that we're going to go with something like this wolf gray. Buy 2 thin coats here to get us started. And we're going to come back to the top down now. And we're going to delicately lay it over top of the places that the white still persists on the model, while trying to keep some of that blue underneath. But we don't need much of the blue. So a couple drops of paint in here. Coming right back to this Vallejo thinner.
Proto said no ads till 1,000, so we're good for a bit.
No ads till 1,000.
I guess 1,000 views, 1,000 viewers.
Okay. Well, hey, if you guys can get an ad-free experience, I love that for you. So let's just check the consistency of it. We're going to take it, get a nice drop on the brush here. We're going to touch it to the side. See how it stalls up right there? It's not really wanting to move. We want to loosen it up just a little bit more. People say, oh, the consistency of milk. But guys, let's be honest. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean? Have you ever looked at a paint and been like, that's milk consistency? Well, I haven't. So I like to look at kind of more behavioral. What's the paint do? Right? Moving down the cup just a little bit slower than I would want it to. Loosen it up just a little bit more, and I think we're going to be good to go. Always better to do this in some sort of extra cup. Shout out Spray Gunner, of course, sent me a bunch of these cups here to do my paint mixing in. Even sent me some pretty cool filters to run the paint through, to strain the paint through, to kind of keep chunks from getting involved, but you know, I haven't really found much need for those as of yet. Okay, so now we're just going to come back across, and we're going to do almost a full paint on the model with this lighter blue. We want to try and overwrite, like we talked about, all of the white that's there. And it's going to overwrite some of that blue that we did in the pre-shading, but not to fret, because we will be reinforcing some shadows once again later in the steps. And I think you can see a bit more now as well of what I was talking about in terms of, you know, the Zenithal is really nice information up front, but we're gonna be eschewing most of that information as we go here. Most of that Zenithal will no longer be even noticeable.
Yeah, so I threw a poll up there to see what people's thoughts were.
Yeah.
Not a single no. 64% yes, and 36% rule of cool. So
For
going frost
whether
shine
to do
on.
a frost shine or not.
Yeah.
But the angle that we're spraying is protecting a lot of that darker blue underneath.
We got Moonlit and Ari's joining us.
What's up, Moonlit? Great to see you.
He's missing his Gob Squad emotes. I get that.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll get there, guys. We'll get there. Let's talk about intentions of the channel. Like we talked about, all of the art videos that we filmed for Cave Reps, well, they're available right now behind the membership wall on that channel. I am working on porting them over because I don't want people to have to pay to be able to share art with me. I'd like just anybody out there that wants to share this experience, I want you to be able to do so. So what that means is that once we do see this channel get to a point that it has the same monetization options available to it that Cave Reps has, well, we're not going to really dig in on all of those, right? We're going to let this channel do what it does and let that Cave Reps channel kind of continue to be the hub for, you know, a lot of, you know, the things that are going to help keep the channel financed. You know, as you guys know, it's not easy nor cheap to make YouTube videos, and the support that we see really helps us immensely with that. But what we don't want to do is just create a bunch of channels that require a bunch of $5 a month infusions from people, because that's really, we only need what we need. You know what I mean? Or, you know, anybody trying to get rich off of YouTube, I mean, they better have some secret sauce. You know, that's not the way that we want to approach it. So don't look for a bunch of membership content, right? That's not the goal, right? Hopefully this stuff we can still grow the channel while, you know, keeping it all kind of open and free for sharing. Those are the goals anyhow. So we'll see what happens with it.
William Payne joined us now too, saying hello.
Aha, another one of our Cave Rep regulars. Great to see you, William. Thanks for tuning in.
Moonlit says you're still very quiet.
Still very quiet.
I did turn up a little bit here.
Let's see what we can figure out here. Bear with me, guys. Properties. Let's go into here.
Shoelace, my choice for Age of Sigmar was Deepkin all the way. I wanted to just paint all the sharks and eels. That's still a future thought for me, but Gargants are cool.
All right, let me know if that helps out. You go ahead and close that out. Hopefully that'll help. We are trying to avoid some really aggressive static that we had on the line when we initially went to go live. That was a part of us being late, was trying to problem solve that. Shout out to Steven Strait, a guy who I called at home and I said, look, I know you're not here, but help. He was able to help give us some guidance, so thanks again for all that help from the very beginning of our YouTube experience in general, Steven Strait. I am also curious how many people in chat are planning to attend the Battle to End Alzheimer's event.
Jay says it sounds better now.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Still not a bunch of static, making it hard to hear though?
Moonlit says it's better, but still very quiet. I have headphones on, and the volume is maxed and still quiet.
All right, well, we can probably pump that up again here in a moment to try that out. Let's get a little better look at kind of the direction we're going here. So we definitely want subtle tones here. We don't want like extreme differences in the blues that we're using. We're going to be able to get highlights in there that are going to help lift it up even further. Pardon me. But we do want to make sure that our volumetrics, that you can see the round shapes and the muscular groups. And I think that we're accomplishing that. What do you guys think so far? All right, so I'm just now going to look for any places that might be missed, any little white spots or spots that are that strong blue, that Asurmen blue that I want to have be moving towards that flesh color a little bit more so.
Now, Dean says he'll be there.
Yeah, I will make it one of these years. I mean, we travel to a lot of events. I've never done this event. And the sad thing is, I don't think there's any event that I believe in more than this event, just because of the nature of it. Like, we did that charity RTT a couple of years back. Raised about $2,500 for some local military families, angel lists from Rob's command. And I just remember that, you know, full disclosure, I came home expecting that we might pull $1,000 if we were lucky, right? I came home to tell my wife that we pulled $2.5K, and I couldn't choke back the tears. I was just so pleased with what the community was able to do, you know, rallying behind our goals and what we were able to accomplish because of it. I can only imagine, you know, how rewarding it must feel for the accomplishments that JC has made doing what he's been doing over the past several years. I can only imagine. Okay, so I think that that's a pretty good start, getting it nice and frigid, but now we need to lighten it up. Let's look at some of our color options. Looking at all of our too thin coats here, these colors are not really far enough. Now, I feel like I'm missing some paints off this wall. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a pastel blue I was expecting to see, and I don't see it. I'm not a fan of mixing paint. However, we're likely going to have to mix some paint. Now, one thing that we could do that might be pretty interesting, and I think we're going to give it a try. I've got this Decadent Purple. This Decadent Purple is a very pastel purple. And I'm wondering how this might look on the surface. Let me just scan the wall and see if anything jumps out first before I go this route. I can just give it a good shake in the meantime. My concern is that that might be a cool look, but it might not feel very icy. And if that's the goal, is making it feel like ice. Yeah, there's definitely a couple of paints here that I'm missing. Sad face. There's a pastel yellow that I don't see on the shelf here. We'll just have to check the stash at home to see if maybe we can uncover it from there. But that's not going to help us much tonight, so I think we're going to do a little bit of paint mixing. Don't tell Cryface. It's a little bit more vibrant too. Now what I might be able to do is take some of that pastel purple we were just looking at and add it to the blue, which we're going to do. Let's just give it a test. Everything is an experiment, right? We don't follow recipes around here. You know, this isn't a tutorial channel where everything has to be rigid. And anything that we do that we don't like, well, guess what? We can fix it. I want it to come down a little bit lighter. I actually like the way that nice, and let me just show you what we're looking at here. That decadent purple, you see how desaturated that is with white. But it's not white, which is very important, because white is boring. And what this might even allow is it might even allow for me to come back and use some of that purple as a highlight. Okay, I like where that's heading. Let's try it out. Now for this, we're just going to want to thin it down quite a bit further. I'm probably going to want to use some of it for layering, so we're going to just separate some off so we're not over thinning.
So Jay's got a question here. Once you mix the paint, does it become really difficult to replicate another batch?
That's always my concern. Keep in mind, I come from a background of, you guys that know me know, I don't paint a model, I paint a bunch of models. And I don't always get to paint all those models at one time. You know, sometimes I have to paint a model and then it's 6 months, 8 months, a year or so before I get to do the next batch. And I like to make sure that I do have something sourceable. When I first sit down and I figure out what we're trying to do, I get an idea of what I want to work with, and it's way easier just to track model by model, right? I can take a look and remember, all right, well, this was this paint, that was that paint, and a little bit of mixing may happen, but, you know, trying to do a bunch of mixing on the palette and consistently achieve the same results, the same, you know, the same mix ratios is just something that I'm not terribly inclined for. Something like this is a one-off model, right? I likely will not paint another Frost Giant at any point. And I definitely will not be painting his twin at any point. So even if I decide, you know, it's back to, you know, time to go back to the Hodor track, well, I can figure out what that process is at that point. I don't have to worry about replicating much. Let's go ahead and lubricate this needle a little bit. If they say it's still a little bit quiet, Luke, let's go into over here, go into the advanced audio properties. Right here, boom, advanced audio properties. Let's take the gain.
Off of hearing.
What's that?
So I'm going off of hearing it.
Perfect. So, bring that from 3 decibels to 6 decibels. Let's see if that helps.
The audio input capture part?
You got it.
All right.
I also noticed this lid is not wanting to sit very well. Let's just clear some of the paint off of the rim. You know, one thing I do have to say that I think is really awesome, and I owe all of you guys that are watching right now a big thank you for, is that when we were doing art videos on the Hobby Goblins page, a page that at that time, or a channel, I don't know, whatever you call these online apparatus, a channel that had a couple of thousand subscribers on it, you know, we're not that far off of the number of people who have taken time out of their day to tune in and hang out with us tonight, with just like, I think, 30 or so subscribers. So, yeah, absolutely appreciate you guys showing up, hanging out here with us tonight. That amount of support, in my opinion, is more valuable than any dollars. So now we're just going to take and find areas that need the direct highlights. So we're going to start small, aiming for things like knuckles, like kneecaps. The stuff that's facing the most, up the most.
Well, how's it going, 21st Legion Wargaming?
That's my dude. What's up, JC? How are you, man?
Is that a nice jersey?
Yeah, had to wear it. Had to wear it for the squad, bro. Yeah. I, of course, owe a thank you to Seth Oster for doing a little jersey swap with me. All right, let's get this PSI back down. I feel like the brush is spraying a little bit nicer now. And we want to do a little bit more delicate work here with it. Ooh, okay. Can't go down quite that low. So staying somewhere around 25. There we go. There we go, just so you can see what I want to see from it. Oh yeah, JC, by the way, decided to do a frost giant. Hopefully you're cool with that, because, well, as far along as we are. Let's check this focus here. Okay, that looks like it's pretty crispy. So again, just grabbing a couple little highlight points. I did the best I could with some of these mold lines, but some of these mold lines or seams were so egregious that I was going to have to milliput them. And full disclosure, I didn't have all the stuff on hand yesterday to do all of that. I do think that most of them are going to be near invisible. You'll have to look for them to see them. But you know, I'll always see them. All right, that's getting where I want it to get. So what we're going to do now is take this nice purple that we've been using to cut, and we're just going to do a test and see how this, with just a touch of this blue, looks at that final highlight. The goal here is that it warms up some of these spots that we're going lighter. We don't want to just go light and dark for our points of contrast. We want to use some temperature information as well. And that purple is a bit warmer than the blue is. And I'm just taking it on the brush here and comparing it to the colors, not touching the model. Just kind of putting them side by side. Again, should be very, very subtle. But I think we can actually go even a little bit more purple than that. And I say purple, but guys, this is like a pastel lavender. You can kind of see in the pot there, next to the blue. Just enough to get that difference in warmth. It does look like that blue pigment is a little bit more powerful than it too, so it does take a little extra to get where we want it to. I see. Okay. Not a problem, but I also do see why some of the spraying was not as good as I would have wanted it to be. And that is simply because it looks like we've got a little bit of backflow coming from the cup. And I can see that evidenced by the blue contrast that has made itself apparent. Right there on the trigger.
Old gob leader.
Well, we do have a link in the Discord or in the video description right there for Spray Gunner. That is one of the best places to go about getting all of your airbrush stuff at reasonable prices. You'll also find, of course, a lot of the stuff you buy off of Amazon is being fulfilled by Spray Gunner as well. I don't have any discount codes to offer for you. There is a small kickback that we do receive from people that purchase through that link, but that helps us really not as much as it helps you, or not doesn't help you as much in that, right? So, but yeah, I help you keep an eye out for different sales when they become available. Make sure you do get the best deal possible.
First of all, let me stop pulling a U and mute myself. But he spelled sales like boat sales. So I don't know if he meant like sales for like getting stuff cheap, or actually airbrushing, like sales for maybe some Dracari or something. I don't know.
That's a valid point. Is a Dracari player. There is a lot of boats.
Yep, he said sales on boats.
Perfect. I'd be happy to chat with you. This is adding actually a nice dimension. We've done this leg right here. You see how much it just really pushes that surface away from that blue. Just that little bit. I like it. Again, we got to get, for these small parts, we got to get in real close and just be very, very patient with the trigger. Make sure that paint is going where we want to.
Just got a question in chat.
Yeah, what do we got?
What makes too thin coats paints preferable to Zenithal?
Consistencies. They are somewhere between a layer paint and an air paint out of the bottle, and they thin wonderfully. Games Workshop has got many formulations of paint, base paints and layer paints and edge, edge highlight paints and all this kind of stuff. And typically, it's the density of the medium that makes it do what it's doing. And Toughened Coats just says, look, this is the pigment, this is the medium, and it is very consistent across the entire range about what you're going to expect. It's most notable, of course, in their whites. Their whites, through an airbrush, are the best whites on the market. And not just through an airbrush, they work beautifully with a brush as well, a standard brush. But something working with a standard brush is the easy thing to do. Having a paint that's formulated that it can be airbrushed efficiently as well is the more challenging accomplishment. So I always judge a paint based off of how it's going to behave blowing through the airbrush. And that, they do what I want them to, when I want them to do it. Like anything, you do have to kind of get to learn the paint to get to to get to that point. It doesn't just, there's no paint that's just a perfect paint in that right. But I feel like the learning curve is a lot better on Toughened Coats than a lot of the other stuff. Monument Hobbies makes a fine product as well, but from my experiences, Monument Hobbies works better with a brush than it does an airbrush, and it takes a little bit extra negotiation to get it to do what you want it to with an airbrush. But if you ask, 10 painters what their favorite paint is, you're probably going to get 12 different responses, right? So it's really about what connects with you the most. What are you looking for in a paint, and does it accomplish it for you? I'm also one of those people as well. Knowing who I'm supporting can absolutely influence how I feel about a thing, right? And through the past several years of having the sponsorship with Toughened Coats, I've gotten to know them as people very well, and salt of the earth people. They could be putting the paint out at a much higher price point. Right? They could be taking all kinds of shortcuts to get the most bang for their buck. But the thing that's most important to them is that they maintain a product that they can believe in. And, that in itself is just about good enough to earn my support. All right, how's that looking, guys? How's that looking? You see what I'm seeing? I feel like I'm digging it. And I'm wondering just how visible it even is on camera. Climb in on it a little bit closer. And just with an airbrush, and you can kind of see, when we look at it from the underneath here, you can see a lot more of that vibrant blue. When you look at it from the top down, you see a lot more of just those lighter colors. And then of course, a nice mix of it right here when we're working along that front shot. So I think that we're good at the airbrush for a moment. I think we can start actually playing around with a brush. And from there, once we've gotten some of the brush work, getting some of the skin texture into it, we can then start thinking about coming back and doing more of that reinforcing of shadows. Now I'm going to do like I always preach to you guys. If you've been sitting around for an hour painting a thing, staring at a thing, stand up for two very good reasons. A, get the blood flowing, right? Don't cramp out. You sit around in a chair all day, you're going to pay for it the next day. So protect your body. Keep the blood flowing. Get up and move. The other thing is, if we're spending a whole lot of time looking at something like right here, right? How does it look from 3 feet away? How does it look from 5 feet away? You know, getting that stretch and that spread. So by the same right, Luke, why don't we swap spots? Feel free to pop in here, have a look, tell me what you think.
I totally wore the wrong shirt for this today.
Just go topless.
Well, we want people to watch us. Let's see, get back over here under the camera. I still think one of my favorite things is just watching that blue happen. And I can't wait to see some of these details get done. As you've been adding all the layers, just seeing way more of the details popping.
Yeah, we're painting ourselves up a frost giant, Johnny.
I was gonna say, it looks like it'd be a frost giant.
Yeah, come on.
He's as cold as ice. Yeah, go have a look. Guys, if you haven't met Johnny, this is the owner of Counterspell Games here. The guys who have shown us probably more support than anybody else in getting this channel up and running. So big shout out to Johnny and the guys up here at Counterspell for helping us create this opportunity.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I love to put them on the spot with the camera, guys. This is what I
Yeah.
do.
That thing looks sick though.
Just get a good start to it, right?
Yeah, nice starting coat. I think it's gonna look really cool as a frost giant because I know there was a couple when they were playing Sigmar here like a while back. There was a guy that was running the giants and his was painted like normal giants, but they were painted very well.
Yeah, you know, you see a lot of people do it because, I mean, it works just to have like that typical flesh, but I like colors, man.
Yeah.
I like colors. You know, we could do the thing everybody's seen a bunch of times, over and over again if we wanted to, but I'd like to leave something that people walk away from. They might remember it, you know, 10 minutes later, especially if they go to look at 10 other giants right after it.
Yeah,
I'd like to be the one they remember.
I like the frost giants because it kind of like reminds me of Marvel.
Yeah.
Thor, and
Yeah.
Okay.
That's this is Loki's dad right here.
Dad right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got Thor in his hand.
Absentee father. Now you know where he's been all these years. Right?
That's funny. All right, I'm gonna take
Cool, brother.
It's
yeah,
cool.
looks sick. Looks cool.
All right, so let's get in. We're going to start adding some texture and some very direct highlights. So for that, well, we're going to need ourselves a wet palette. Let's see how this one's holding up. Well, could use a little bit more water, but otherwise, it looks good. Talked about it in the past, very useful hobby tools. Get yourself a gooseneck bottle right here. This is the paint liquor line. Shout out to Cryface, does all the art for the channel. And you guys can actually look out for Cryface here very soon. He's going to be running a Monday stream, Monday daytimes. In the next couple weeks, he's going to be getting that started. And for those of you who don't know, I am a painter of efficiency and speed. That's my goal, is to get things done. Cryface's goal is to take however much time it takes to make something as incredible as he can make it. And let me tell you, he can make it pretty incredible. So you'll be able to see more things that are, you know, a little bit closer to that golden demon chase coming from him. So we're going to take on our wet palette right here, take some of that lavender that we discussed.
You want to zoom out a little bit, or you gonna stay?
Yeah, we can definitely. Although, I think that
Or
we're
is that a
probably
good
going to
spot?
want to be able to, yeah, let's zoom it out just a little bit, because we're going to be lifting it to about here. Dial in this focus a little bit more. But it is, I'm very happy with how those paints have mixed. So let's go with a size 2. Old Artist Opus S series here. We're going to let this paint be nice and loose, so we'll test it on our glove, see what kind of coverage we're getting off of it. What we don't want is we don't want it to be full opacity. All right, and now what you're going to see here is that I think that this color by itself is actually a little bit, let's find out. So again. We want to do muscles run in fibers. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take and run some fibrous musculature along here. Might not convey on camera because it's very, very subtle what we're doing. But we're going to be going around the model and picking places like a lot of the tops of these folds and wrinkles. And just kind of following kind of the direction those muscle fibers. Not going to take a ton of time on it. But there is a lot to do. So there's also like only so much time savings that we can see from it, right? There's a certain amount of time that's going to have to be spent no matter how we slice it. I think one of the reasons that I like doing colorful stuff versus the traditional stuff too is that it means that we can be a bit more creative in how we apply the paint as well. We're not setting the expectation with the viewer that what they're seeing is something that's real and found in nature. There's a certain illustrativeness to it that just opens the door for any possibility. And we're basically coming to the spots that we hit that airbrush with and going to the middles of those spots, if that makes sense. And we're doing it like this again for textural stuff. We could just thin down the paint and put layers down. But this is just going to add extra depth and dimension to the model itself. And you see, it doesn't take a whole bunch of crazy good brush control or anything. You know, just a little bit of patience. Get this thigh done. We're going to zoom in on it. We're going to, see if we can get it to read on the camera a little better for you too. How's the focus here? Got to thin that down. And rather than thinning down all of the paint at once, that paint is going to kind of slowly dry out a bit in the air. So rather than doing all the paint at once, we're just hydrating our brush, using the brush to grab some of the paint on the wet palette, and then creating this kind of little pool alongside of it that helps us control the texture, the consistency of it just a bit more. Always good to, like, if you've got a glove, cool. If not, maybe a thumbnail or something. But just check and see how that paint is coming off of the brush on something other than your model. so there's no surprises.
So Nellie's got a question over here for you.
Yeah, what do we got, Natalie?
And this is a question I got too, because this is one of the things that's kept me from getting some of these brushes.
Sure.
Is how do you care for them? Like, what's one of the best ways to care for these brushes?
The same stuff that artists have been using for generations. This Masters brush cleaner, I remember being a child in my grandmother's art studio and seeing this product in the shelf. The same exact product. Hadn't changed in 50 or 60 years probably, right? And this is something that you're gonna lather up on the brush. It's a two-part, it's a cleaner and a conditioner. So we're gonna take a brush, we're gonna moisten the bristles very good. We're gonna rub it in here, we're gonna create a nice lather with it, right? That's gonna grab all of the pigment that's wanting to hang out in there. And then once we've got a nice lather through there, we're gonna rinse it off in some water. Right? We're gonna come back again, we're gonna re-lather it again, and then we're gonna let it sit and dry. And that's where the conditioner side kind of comes into play. Now, Artist Opus knows that they made a high quality brush, and the higher quality the brushes, the more care they do require. So they do send you with their own version of it, right? This is the same general concept, right? Works the same way. I can't tell you what the chemical composition is or anything like that, but it does work just fine. And then the other thing they're going to do is they're going to provide you with, let's see if I can find it offhand. It's on this shelf right here somewhere.
No.
Yes, there we go. So in a situation where you've got just more paint and pigment in your bristles, you can take this and get that into your bristles, and that's like a cleaning solution. So that's going to help dig out the pigment that you find in the ferrule or the metal part right here that connects to the bristles, right? You get that in there, that loosens it back up, wash it again, come back with that conditioner, reshape the brush, you know, and Bob is your uncle. I use the same practice on maintaining synthetic brushes, which I do a lot of stuff with synthetic brushes as well. You know, especially when I'm working with contrasts or metallics, I like to use a synthetic brush that's going to be a little bit more durable as well. On aggressive pigment, or you know, the sharp edges of mica that gives you metallics, those can be damaging to brushes. So the synthetic brush is going to hold up a lot better. Let's see if we can see some of what we're seeing now. All right, so do you see how these little lines in there are just reinforcing the fibrous muscles? Let's look at the chest here. Kind of the same thing. That chest is by and large very flat and very smooth. Adding that just gives a nice little extra texture to it. And I do see, let's see if I can do some at this zoomed in right here that you guys can see a little better. This side is a little bit sloppier. So let's see if we can clean this up a little bit and let you see the process. It's almost a little bit more like sketching than it is like painting in a way. You know, if you're familiar with other art terms, it's got like kind of like some of the same things like a pen or pencil illustrator via cross hatching are looking to accomplish. We're just doing it with paint. Now, what we're not going to do that you find in cross-hatching is we are not going to run perpendicular lines. We're not going to make little check boxes, right? We're going to keep all of it moving in roughly the same direction. And then some of the existing, see some of this is sculptural in here, right? We're just going to go ahead and follow some of those. Doesn't just work for flesh, it works very well for a lot of different organics. You know, hard carapaces on your Tyrannid, another great way to utilize this technique. And a lot of these techniques, if I'm painting an army, probably aren't going to find their way to my recipe. Something like this for a cause that I believe in, that I'm willing to do extra work on, right? Spend the extra time on. That's where we're going to kind of dig in to some of these techniques. I was hoping to leave this ridiculously large base off of it to do the painting, but I just wasn't very excited about handling the model as much, nor like having to worry about whether it was going to fall over every time I put it down. Lots of going back into the paint, lots of rehydrating your brush and, you know, remixing your paint to get the consistency of it. But we're not doing it across the whole model. Again, we're just finding spots that we feel like are going to be enhanced by the added texture and by the extra highlights. Belly, kind of in the same way, and we're able to just follow some of those sculpted wrinkles. don't like this chest right here, this side particularly. We use some of the same coloring here for the facial details as well.
It looks like Chris is coming in tomorrow night.
Chris coming in to play?
Yep.
How about that? What's up? Great to see Chris. I know he's been in the process of a big move. Make sure you tell them to get me those lists so I can make those assets tonight after stream. Does that mean we're getting Necrons on the table tomorrow night?
He hasn't specified what he's playing yet.
I think so. That's what he's been playing the last several games on the stream. The thinner the lines, the better, too, on this process. I know I've been off camera a few times, Luke, because it's kind of hard to keep track of it. But all in all, how's it been? Have I been on camera and in focus more than not so far?
For the painting aspect, yeah, but you like to look at your forehead apparently, so we need to move that camera over.
Yeah, go ahead and drop the visibility on that camera. We don't even need that camera right now. I mean, although this is a world-class forehead. What do we got?
Are you still going to play critic for your audience's art and crafts in the future of this channel? I really enjoyed those segments and think you could really connect with the community.
You know, I do think it's a good idea. Last time, what I ran into was just the time, right? The amount of time it takes to like sit down and give good, thoughtful feedback. But there's a lot of stuff that, you know, was sapping my time last time that isn't hurting me as bad, right? Our assets for the battle reports, for example, well, I've gotten that system down a lot more, so it gets done a lot quicker. So definitely something that I think we could do. And I mean, I kind of enjoyed it too, if I'm honest. I will say that if that's what people would like to see, obviously my goal is to share my experiences here on camera with anybody who wants to have them shared with them. And so really whatever the people would like to see is what I'd like to do. So sound off if you'd like to see us go back to doing the hobby feedback.
Well, Natalie already jumped in and said that Nayland and Nari said they've agreed and thirded.
Perfect. Well, there you have it. Well, we'll get that coming soon then. We've got a couple of things I've got to work out technical-wise for the stream. Like we talked about the audio tonight. I know I can clean it up, given the right amount of time.
It's cleaned up pretty good, actually. It's, I think it's just a matter of getting it turned up more. And that might be some more settings for tuning it.
Well, if the turning it up has not increased the issues with the static, then we could even pump it up even further if that's what we would need to do. You know what I mean? Like if people are still struggling to be able to hear it?
This is me listening to it right now, giving you my feedback.
Yeah.
The static's going to go away, like unless I turn it to max volume.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty egregious before the stream though, wasn't it?
No, it was. I also had to bring the music up a little bit because it wasn't actually playing at first. You couldn't really hear it.
Okay.
That's a little bit better too.
That was ugly. All right, I definitely don't care much for the way the chest is looking there, but so I might do some glazing for it. Like I like the way this one side looks. The other side and me just don't get along. And I feel like it's because this side here, the brush strokes are more obvious. I think you guys can see why we talked about the goal for tonight is basically like kind of flesh, right? Just because of, you know, this can be pretty time consuming. Another person that paints in a similar mindset would be Jose Da Vinci. If you watch a lot of what he does a lot of stuff with line work. Like this, you know, and then he'll apply a filter to blend it all together. So we're just kind of taking a little play out of his playbook, you know, with my own spin. He is a hell of a painter. So I definitely would not say I paint like Jose Da Vinci, not at all. But you know, you can learn something from just about everybody. And that's some of the things that I feel like I've learned from him. So I want to give the credit where credit's due, you know? Yeah, so that's pretty aggressive up in there. So we're going to see what we can do about that. I think some glazing might be the key for it. Might be the thing that kind of brings it back to good. But I do think that going with this lavender has made a very cool kind of color interaction. He's got a little skull in his eyebrow, or in his eyeball here. Man, these Sigmar models be doing too much. I'll just chill out, Sigmar. You ain't gotta do this much. Nice. We just had somebody asking for a Necron game too, so those surprise Necrons.
Proto's over here. Kratos' cousin from the north is manifesting.
Mm-hmm. Who said that?
Proto.
Got a little Jotunheim in him, don't he? Okay, really, I think I've just got some high points on this arm and the hands, and then I want to see what that filter is going to look like. Okay, a little pigment drying in the tip of my brush, losing sharpness. We're going to go ahead and give it a nice little rinse out. There we go. And I talked about, not liking that chest, but believe it or not, that's a good thing, right? If we accidentally stumbled into gold every time, well, that's less opportunities to learn something. And if we weren't trying to learn something, we would just do something the same way over and over again, right? So, give me them spicy educational opportunities, please. Okay. Let's slide up into this hand. Now this hand is a little interesting in the fact that there's really not, there's too many shapes in here to just go kind of the same way. I can't just follow a muscle group because you got the kind of muscle tissues going in every direction. So we're going to be picking out a couple of the existing wrinkles, a couple of the, especially right here on the knuckles. You see these knuckles tell us which direction to go. Now, some of the spots that I'm picking, I'm choosing to do this, going from that contrast blue up to this lavender is a huge span. So you look at that, that doesn't look very subtle, right? That's where our next stage of filtering is going to help address that for us. All right, let me, before we move into that filter, I do want to take some of this blue that we've put aside here, just a little bit in this cup, drop it on the tray, dilute it by half with water, pull most of that out of this brush. We can dilute it a little further, I think. Nice big gloopy drop of water. Let's see how loose that is. I'm just going to tap that out on this paper towel here. And we're just going to glaze in to try and cure some of this chest. Remember when glazing? Brush deposits the most paint where it stops, not where it starts. So if you've got a place that you want your paint to end up more pronounced, end your brush there. And what we're doing is we're just trying to knock some of the strength of the white versus its surroundings off of the edges of it, specifically where it's moving into that breastplate right here. I don't know if you guys can see, but already that looks a lot better.
Oh yeah.
Kind of do some of the same thing on some of these other spots where I feel like it's not quite smooth enough. It's kind of just helping kind of feather the edge of that lavender highlight we've put on there. let's get a zoom in and a close inspection. Luke, do you mind doing that for me?
You know what?
Just show these guys at home the camera here. I'm going to step out. and
Okay.
use
You're
those
going to take your
rules.
step. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the magical green gloves. So you guys get to see my pretty hands. And you see all those different muscles now.
Do I have a Magoos on that table right there? I do. All right.
Yes, you do.
All right. I think I've got an idea of something I want to try with that Magoos to add a little bit more color value to the whole deal.
What you thinking?
A lot of the spots where the skin's going to be more rugged, places like the kneecaps, the elbows, the knuckles, working some of the Magoos into it to give a little bit more dimension to it as well. Make it look like those things are a bit more leathery, a little bit more tanned, not via sun, but via roughness. I want to reinforce my blues first at the shadows, and then we're going to see from there. But we're approaching a point where I'm going to feel pretty good about the flesh. We're not going to be able to get the flesh 100% done before we paint the rest of the model. There's going to be a certain amount of wiggle room we're going to want to leave ourselves with. That way, if we have any issues with any other aspects of paint, we can reset, touch up those spots, and then push them closer to, air quotes here, guys, perfection. But if you take a look at the box of the model, you'll see a little bit of what I'm talking about as well if you look specifically around kneecaps and knuckles. Right? You might be able to get that under the camera as well to show what we're talking about here. You see how those take on like kind of a richer color in there?
Oh yeah.
Now that we know that the purple that we're messing with does play pretty well with the blues, we can kind of lean into that further. But what's funny is when you look at that color on the model, it doesn't look lavender at all.
No, I don't. Yeah, it's gonna be parts, kneecaps, knuckles.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's see some of, yeah, and I think from the distance, from here, I think it looks pretty sharp. I think it's pretty solid. But let's go ahead and get back in here and get this airbrush moving again. Let me just shout out all of you guys just doing the Rockstar support. 42 minutes average view duration.
Yeah,
that
that's
means
impressive.
some of you guys have really committed a good bulk of your night to this project with me, man. That makes me feel really good. Okay, this has a name like it should belong. Let's try it. This one's a bit more vibrant. It's not as dark as the Asurmen. But what it is going to add is a good amount of vibrancy to it. So you see we're not getting much in there. Dilute it by about half. And then we're going to go very low and slow with this here. At least as much as the brush will allow. Yeah, Moonlit, these were specifically picked out for their color. Oh, no, too much. And let's actually zoom back in on what we're looking at here a bit more. Because this transition, if is done well, will be fairly subtle as well. Just adding color value back. I'm going to focus on the stuff that's underneath. So you see, like underneath this thigh here, see how it's really taking on more vibrancy? Same thing, the back of the calf here. And what we want is we want some of this to overlap where that brushwork we've just done ends. Can I get that focus in a little bit better?
There you go.
There we go.
Before just a hair.
Down here onto this foot here. Oh, buddy, we've got 2 of those Emperor's Children boxes on pre-order here for the studio. Looking really forward to getting some Emperor's Children painted up. Looking really forward to it. The models lack some of the extra, you know, sort of if you think about the Noise Marine with the leopard print, like knee pads and like the rainbow hair. It's lacking some of that stuff in the sculpt. But pink and purple models, sign me up. Little touch of a putrid green, hey, why not? I'm here for it. Let's look at that belly next, see if you guys can see what's happening here with the belly. Can you guys see that how it's kind of transforming that? Let's go under our chest here. Our chest is kind of a big focal point and a point that we've been messing with. Let's see what this effect looks like on here. Get out of the way, giant hand. Remember, shadows don't always have to be darker. They just have to be different. And you saw how light of a blue this is that we're working with here.
Natalie was wondering if you could put the names of the paints in the comments later.
Absolutely. Well, I'll actually show them to you here in just a second, Natalie. That is a great idea. And of course, any of you local guys that want to see this in person, just come see me. I'll be back here working daytime, Thursday, up here at Counterspell Games. As you know, I love to show off. So yeah, pop on in, come say hello. I'll let you take a look at it in person, so that way you can kind of see the difference between how it looks on your screen versus how it's going to look under natural light, under normal viewing circumstances or conditions. And then if you're not local, then just make sure you take your ass to Battle to End Alzheimer's. Go support JC and, you know, use your wargaming for such a good and noble cause. He's getting really icy now, though. And we're just doing this with color so far. We haven't even added on like any of the snow that's probably going to adorn it later on, or maybe even some ice crystals that kind of tell that story for us. And although this might be a little time consuming, I hope with you guys watching, you can see that it's not hard, right? The skill ceiling for getting something like this accomplished isn't real high. Sometimes it's just about being patient enough with the things that, you know, you need to do, and just knowing, right? Just having the idea of like what adding little bits of color here or there might do to impact the piece. And that'll open the door for you to you know, kind of know what to do from there. Certain things, you know, getting nice, consistent, tiny lines like that, you know, this is gonna take a little practice. You know, as you can see on mine, I still got a little practice I need on it. But it is not a golden demon chase by any means. It is attainable. All right, look at that chest though. Chest is a great example. I wasn't happy with it. Now I'm quite happy with it. It's very subtle, but the different shades of blue that you've got running around really help push out the shape of each pectoral muscle. Get the bottoms of these fingers here. I want you to fly back out to see it too, Natalie. We'd love to have you back on stream. Maybe next time you'll be playing some tier nets. I am quite happy with that, guys. Yeah, there's not guitars on this newer stuff. Oh man, actually, I should maybe do that on purpose. Some strategic speckling to kind of give some freckles here and there. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to mess around with that tonight, but that might be something that we come back and finish with. But there's going to be an immense amount of super cool 3D print options for the Emperor's Children. Guaranteed. I've already seen like a Demon Prince holding like an electric guitar. How does everybody think? You think we're convincing? You think this is kind of selling the Frost Giant? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Make sure you add that in the comments. All right, so the last thing we're gonna mess around with tonight, I just wanna try a little of this Magoos Purple through a bit of a glazing. Welcome back, JT, JC, JB. I'm just gonna, as long as I get the J right, we're good, right? All right, I wanna go with a bigger body brush. For this glazing here. It wouldn't hurt to do something synthetic either. And let's have a look at, yeah, this guy works. The Monster brush from Army Painter. Picked this up. This was one of the challenge coin giveaways at Cherokee. It came with a free dose of COVID. That was rough, boys.
That basically was my go-to brush when I first started painting my nids.
Yeah?
Yep.
I'm not sure how this is gonna go. I mean, the medium on this particular flavor of contrast is pretty strong. So let's just see here. I'm gonna try it here on the knees. Let's see if it's gonna be worth putting it in other spots on the wall. It might also be a situation that rather than glazing, we do a little bit of strategic airbrush with it. I just don't know. I first want to determine if it's going to add enough value to consider. And frankly, I don't think it is. Yo, that new Daredevil came out today. I'm pretty excited for that. Yeah, you know what? The brush, I'm not getting it down the way I want to. Let's put a little in the airbrush. What do you say? And we don't need much of this at all, so I'll show you how I'm going to do this. Rather than using the cup to mix, we're going to just drop a little thinner right here in the pot. I'm not even worried about a full clean here. Get enough to coat that needle down there pretty good. We're going to take our brush, we're going to go right into the Magoos, get a brush load out, and just drop it in the bottom. Total combined, maybe 2.5 drops of fluid in the bottom of this airbrush. Okay, let's go one more dip of the brush, get a little bit more purple out of it.
Looks like JC's GT is over 100 people already for the 40K.
Wow. Wow. Well, the hope is that, and make sure you send me a link. I'd like to put that in the video comments for this event. I think I might have already the BCP link, but just if you would, send that to me just so I can make sure. But yeah, I definitely hope that we get to be a part of the biggest grossing donations for BEA to date. That would feel really nice. A little bit of purple in the knees there. Same thing with the elbows here. Now these elbows have a bit more shadow on them, meaning considerably more blue. Yeah, and keep in mind, guys, remember, we've talked about shadow a lot tonight. We have yet to use any traditional shadow color, right? We're not using any Agraxes, any Nullen Oils, any like just dark for the sake of dark. We're going from desaturated to vibrant. That's our color path that's going to separate our light and our darkness. Heels should get a fair amount of this as well. And what's cool is this is actually making that lavender read a little bit more lavender too. And this has got to be done kind of slow and steady. Since it's so thin, I want to build it up patiently. So it'll be multiple passes with the airbrush to make it happen. So some of you guys know I know Luke knows Angel. Introduced Sarah, Angel's wife, to Natalie on Facebook, since they're both so cool and crafty and artistic. But I hate to tell you, Natalie, but I think they're coming back to Jacksonville.
Oh.
Yeah, man, looks like he's got a potential job offer. He'll know more about this week. That'll be bringing him back here. And I can't tell you how excited I am for that. What's funny is when he first moved to Jacksonville is when I first started introducing him to the wonderful, wonderful world of D&D. And it took basically him moving away to like really go balls deep into D&D. So there's a campaign a-coming, folks.
Nice.
Yeah. I knew I was going to get some purple in here. I knew I was. The heels take it very, very nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let that rest for just a moment, and then let's do one final look at what we've done here this evening. Oh yeah, stretch her out. Oh yeah, okay. I want you to get nice and close on it. So again, lots of details we still need to get painted in. We're gonna need to do the face. Oh, hold on a second. And nipples. Don't need to do much with them, but let's do something with them. Okay. So again, like we're gonna work on the face, get more detail into the face once we figure out what all of those details are gonna be. We've gotten our blues in there, nice volumetrics, really enhanced the textures through all the line work that we've done. Added purple to the tough areas of skin, that Magoos purple, and we'll show all those colors off we've used tonight here in just a moment. We've got several different shades of blue kind of working together to really identify the shapes of the things that we're looking at. Of course, that same Magoos across those knees there. That breaks it up a little bit, gives it a little bit more interest to the thing too, so it's not all blue. Let's take a look at these feet. Same thing, kind of those foot knuckles down here by the heels. But there you have it. There is the flesh to our frost giant as promised. So I think that that's a point where I can go ahead and let you guys free, start cleaning this desk back up for next time. I do think I'm gonna be able to get back in here Thursday. I gotta do a couple of checks on some things first before I schedule the video, but stay tuned to the channel. You'll see the video pop up if it does look like Thursday night is going to be a go. I think probably a total of 3 sessions we'll get all of the paint done, and we'll add on another session just for good measure to do something really cool and interesting with this base. Guys, thank you so much for making this first episode of Hobby Pants right here on Gob Ross and Friends such a huge success. I absolutely am super pumped to be back here at the desk painting and hanging out with you guys, and I really hope that you guys have enjoyed it as well. If there's going to be some things that you're going to want to see on the channel, learn about like different techniques that I like to employ, or ask me to try techniques that I might not have tried in the past, feel free to hit up the video comments, let me know. Otherwise, feel free to make sure you smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and let's see about helping grow out this channel. I'd love to share these experiences with many more people, simply because the more people I get to share it with, the more people I also get to get bits of data from, and maybe learn a few things myself along the way. Big thank you to Luke for coming in here, hanging out with me and producing this one here tonight. Shout out, Luke. You notice I also didn't do the green screen this time.
Yeah, I
was like,
picked up.
let's keep it out of the way. But guys, until next time, keep your pants on. Oh, hold on. No. Take your pants off. I got to show you the paints first. That's not exactly. Okay, Natalie, here you go. Magoos purple is that purple that we're using. GW contrast paint. The colors that we used for our flesh colors are going to be, where's it at? Where'd it go? Wolf gray, right here. 2 thin coats. That's got, a nice blue-gray to it. You've got frost blue, which has got just a little bit more blue vibrancy with it, saturated or desaturated just a little bit more with white. You've got our initial undershading, brought to you by Asurmen blue. Right? That was the first thing that we did once we got our Zenithal done. And then the color that we used to really ramp up those colors at the very end of it, reinforcing the shadows, adding a touch more vibrancy, contrast Fireheart. The final piece, of course, would be this ancient or decadent purple. This was, of course, what we used to further desaturate the frost blue, and then of course unadulterated. We used it for our highlights with all the brushwork that we did. So there are the paints that we used as we used them here this evening. There's going to be a bunch more when we finish the project up. So, guys, thanks again, and we'll see you soon.